You have found us. More podcasts, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny and make an eternal difference. Now.
Boy, we sound really healthy, don't we?
Sultry.
Oh my gosh.
It's the gift that keeps on giving, Alex.
I just cannot stop coughing.
Nah, I can't either.
And I did take a COVID test just to kind of rule that out, and nothing.
Okay.
But
I don't care.
I'm just like, yeah, I know. I just wanted to do that just for this, maybe get some time off, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, please be COVID so I can get some time off, and it doesn't. It never works in my favor. You know?
That's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, because you can use that as a major tool.
Well, and I know this is the listeners may not know this. We went to Link, and I got everyone sick at Link.
Yeah, you did. We're all.
I rode in the car with the Nortons and got everybody sick.
Oh my
but
gosh.
I will blame my son. He is homesick today. It has literally been a month.
That's where it all starts. I'm just saying right now, if you have little kids in your home,
go to school, and then
and
it's
it
all
is
downhill.
the place where the bugs get spread from one person to the next.
And then once it hits the dad, the man cold is severe.
I've heard from doctors, and I'm talking like top-notch doctors, that the man cold is very close to pregnancy and birth.
Yeah.
And when a man gets a cold, really,
symptoms are exactly the same as a normal cold.
Yeah.
But the likelihood of complaining goes up.
Oh,
1,000.
a lot.
For whatever reason that is.
Well, and the need for help.
Yes.
To do just basic stuff.
Yep.
Like, when I first started having this, I mean, just sitting down in my recliner and finding the remote, I don't know what happened. I just couldn't see the remote anywhere. So I had to have my wife come in and look for it.
Do you have a little bell?
I do. I have one that I kept from the Salvation Army that I have to use.
The joy of Christmas bell.
It's the joy. But it's a little PTSD going on there when I hear it. That's what that's seriously talking about that. That's what happens to me when I go during Christmas.
Yeah,
and I'm walking into like a Walmart. And you see a bell ringer there. Literally, my mind reverts back to 4 years ago.
Yeah.
When I had to organize that, because that's a third of our budget,
right?
Raising with or a third of the budget for the Salvation Army is during Christmas, and
I would imagine
I spent 8 weeks,
really
7 days a week, to get that done, and so I immediately go back there and I'm like, I can't, I got it.
You don't have the same. See, I get the nice Christmas warm fuzzies when I hear it.
I don't. Yeah. No, I just start getting sweaty and
you see like lots of like Microsoft Word documents.
And the
Office,
just the hours and hours of no sleep. From we used to run our kettles from 10 to 11.
Oh, really?
A day, yeah. So 7 days a week.
Where's the best place to set up as a bell ringer?
Well, out of all the places,
money?
I mean, I have always had to find them wherever we went.
Yeah.
But the one place I found that was the best.
Did places say no?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because
I would think that would be a easy yes for a business.
You would think so, but corporate contracts, when they have like Meijer will not let you ring.
Really?
Because they're union. And they want bell ringers to be union, and we're like, "There's no way."
Get out of here, Meijer.
These guys are volunteers.
That's volunteer.
Right.
How is it union?
These guys are volunteers, or we do pay some of them. We do pay some bell ringers, but they don't make a lot. It's just for a short season.
Yeah.
And when we used to ring at Meijer, and they eventually, I think it was around 2007, 2008. Said, we're done. You have to be union in order to do this.
Yeah.
So we got kicked off of there. Menards, we used to ring there, and apparently somebody complained about them, and they were high enough up in Menards.
Really?
Yeah,
that's wild.
So we got kicked out of there, and that was a good one. But the best bell ringing site by far, is in the Metro station in Chicago.
Oh,
you literally, are you ready for this? We would literally make $3,000 every 10 minutes.
Way. What?
Every 10 minutes.
No way.
The train would stop. People would be rushing off to go to work. Yeah. And as they would get used to the fact that the bell ringer is going to stand there.
Yeah.
and they would stuff that. We literally had to have multiple
No way.
kettles
Yeah.
to swap them out because we couldn't get any more money in them.
Sheesh.
And yeah, so that would be
That's
the metro
crazy.
station.
That's cool.
I remember doing it one time because when we were in seminary, we had to do it. We had a bell ring at least for 2 weeks.
It's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is maybe a little sacrilegious.
What?
It's your like Mormon mission.
It's a memorial mission. Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, here we go. And I would go and I would stand there, and literally I didn't have to even ring the bell.
Really?
Because people saw it
Yeah.
there, and they would just stuff it with bills.
Sure.
And they just keep walking.
Wow,
and
man.
I mean, we would open up the top, and it'd come out
Yeah.
in the shape of the kettle.
That's crazy.
Because it was so packed
Yeah,
up.
yeah. That's crazy.
So, yeah. Now, thanks for getting me talking about that, Ted.
Well, you know why?
Yeah.
I am thinking about Christmas is because I've been going through Christmas music.
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
starting to think about worship pastor hat of what are we gonna sing for Christmas? So I'm all cheery and
Yeah.
I light my little cinnamon candle in my
Your pumpkin
office.
spice.
Yeah, right.
You know what's so funny is when we talked about the pumpkin spice last week, I went into Walmart.
Yeah.
And Amy and I are like, well, let's just see what has pumpkin spice in it.
Yeah.
You know, because there's so many things. We found protein shakes. We found candles. We
Yeah.
found the lip balm. We
Yeah.
found mousse for hair. We found bath salts. We found, I mean, it was like pumpkin spice everywhere.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh. You know,
Yeah,
what
you
was-
think of it's almost like this over caffeinated like 15-year-old girl
No.
who's just jittery, like I love
Yeah.
pumpkin spice.
It's not anymore.
Right,
Got
it's
grandma.
everybody, exactly.
Grandma's giving
Yeah.
up the apple cider or whatever, that apple spice cinnamon
Yeah.
is giving that up for pumpkin spice now. Because you
Yeah.
can't even find that anymore.
Yeah, I saw pumpkin spice frosted flakes the other day. I thought that was
What?
an interesting one. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I just can't. I just can't. Oh, hey, I wanted to show you this. You remember the old Sears catalog for
Sure.
Christmas?
Oh man. I
Amazon.
wasn't Sears. It was JC
Penney, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Amazon's gotten into it now, and
Really?
they produced a gift book now.
Okay.
And I was like, this is
That's
reminiscent
awesome.
of
That's total nostalgia right there.
yeah,
man.
and it's got everything in here from, you know, cheap wannabe
Sure.
music equipment to all kinds of
Perfect.
stuff.
Did you have a guitar in the? You know, you're a guitar player.
Yeah.
Did you ever that as a kid like? I want that first act
Oh yeah, yeah.
guitar out of the Sears Christmas.
Well, you know what's
catalog.
interesting though is Sears. They for a while when I was growing up used to sell Pearl drums and Washburn guitars, which
I
people
remember,
play
yeah,
now.
right?
I mean, they're not the best,
Right.
but they're
Well, Pearls.
yeah.
I mean, if you get
Pearl Forum,
yeah,
or what was it back then? It was Pearl Export Series.
yeah.
So they used to have that in there. Yeah,
Series,
and so
yeah.
you can get a nice drum set.
My first drum set was a nice one. My first legitimate drum set was a Pearl Export. And that
Yeah,
was a really
me
nice
too.
One.
Me too, and I liked
Lit
it.
drums in Traverse City. It was a big day for me.
Red drums. I had red
Yeah.
drums.
There was like they had like it would be in like mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
But they would have like a little subsidiary thing that was their drum department. And Traverse City, I got green wood, so wood with green. Oh man, you're just taking me back now. It was a wood stained. It was green. It was a little 4-piece.
Yeah.
Pearl Export. Yeah, it was.
It's a great kit.
Oh man.
And people
It
are trying to
sounded
find those
awesome.
now.
Yeah.
You know, to play them. And I mean,
Yeah,
I think
they're awesome.
they're even starting to come back with that style, but
Yeah.
different name.
Yeah.
But it's basically the same
Sure.
drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's for the price. It was a good,
Yeah,
good
oh, yeah,
drum
man.
set, and a lot of good tunes played on that.
So if you need a good drum set for not a lot of money,
get one of those.
listener, now you have more information than you ever wanted
Yeah,
to
right.
know
And the other thing I was going to tell people
about mid-series drums.
mid-series drums, good drum set. The Yamaha Pacifica is a good guitar. I was looking at that last
People
night.
have. I think there's different stages of those too.
There is. There's
Yeah.
a Pacifica that's the higher end
Yep.
and the low end, but people are playing both of them. And this one guy, he did an actual comparison
Sure.
with the same song on
Yeah.
TikTok and shows both of them. And I'm like, it's not that bad.
Sure.
It's not that bad.
Sound
I mean,
wise, I think you got to get it in your hands to play it. But
Right.
yeah, the sound is pretty.
and they're talking
Yeah,
about
man.
the lay, the setup on the fretboard, because that's one of the things that
Sure.
guitarists don't have issues with. Like, you know, if you're playing a Fender, there's going to have a rounder neck, going to
Yep.
be thicker.
Yep.
If you're playing an Ibanez, it's going to be thinner,
Right.
A little more boxy in the
Fast,
back,
yeah,
yeah. And so these are just a standard neck, but
Cool.
they're nice. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's astounding to me. You can buy for not a lot of money a really nice playing
Yeah.
guitar. or sounding drum set now. Where I remember buying composite stuff, and as a kid, it just sounded terrible. But
Well, most of the stuff I recorded was on an Aria, which doesn't exist anymore.
I remember
and I got
those.
that one for $350.
right, I think they sold them at Music Makers. He sold them.
Yeah, I bought one in mine. I bought in Mason City, Iowa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just like the color.
Yeah, sure. Of
And then
course.
I started recording with it, and it's
Sweet.
probably one of the better sounding guitars that I have.
Really?
Maybe not as good as my Ibanez, but it's pretty close. But so when I record with it, it's got a nice BV end on
Go
it.
guitar shopping. You got me all fired.
I know.
up there.
Well, I started watching TikToks from that place we went to in Grand Rapids.
The
What is
Firehouse.
it? The Firehouse.
That's a
Yeah.
problem. That store's-
I know.
that store's
And he started
ridiculous.
showing like different guitars coming in. That's what he does
Sure.
right now. And
Oh,
I'm
man.
like, oh, that's a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a cool store.
Yeah. It's nothing like going to a guitar store.
No,
And
sir.
seeing a guitar that you can't touch.
Absolutely.
And
There
that-
is nothing like
Yeah.
that. I do think that I wish that experience for everyone that, with the age of buying stuff on the internet,
Right.
it is such a cool thing to be able to go into a music store and put your hands on an instrument and be like, this is it.
This is the one I
didn't
need.
know I wanted this, but now I do.
Yeah.
That's just a really, really fun experience.
So what child can I hawk on the internet, and what child can I sell for some money?
Get into all our bad musical instrument investments.
That's
here,
right, yeah.
Pastor Alex. Not something I want to admit on the More podcast.
Yeah. At one point, I realized I can't afford instruments anymore, so I have to keep the ones I have.
Yeah, that's smart.
So I quit doing that.
in that
But
stage, too.
yeah,
I realized too that I have. The other day I was thinking about this because I was looking at a guitar and I was like, I think now that I have less instruments than I ever have,
Yeah.
and it's kind of now like my profession,
right. Yeah. Now you need them. Yeah.
right? And it's. I think there's some maturity there, right?
Yeah. Well,
You're
that
making better decisions.
Your bank account.
That's
It's
right.
not going to support your habits anymore. But
Well,
you
it never did. You're just
Yeah.
hopefully you're wising up, right? You're getting smarter.
I've been tempted though. I have told my wife.
You haven't bought a guitar.
I haven't bought a
in a
guitar in a
minute.
while. The Ibanez I bought, I think the first year we were here.
Okay.
Because I always wanted an SG1 for a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
And they started putting them back out again. And so when I saw it, I'm like, I just need to get one.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
honestly, I don't play it as much as I do with some of my cheaper guitars.
Sure.
But it's just the feeling knowing that I have an
Absolutely,
SG1
man. Yes,
before
dude.
they stopped making them.
Absolutely.
So it's not the original. Because
Hey,
Dan Lettingham had an SG1 that
Did he?
I loved to watch him play. It was the white one, the
Okay.
typical white.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it had the very square cut body.
Okay.
In this one, the SG1s now are a little bit rounded,
Yes.
so it looks a little different. But
Yeah, that's a surfboard of a guitar, man.
Yeah, I
play
like
that
it.
one once in a while.
it's super nice.
Yeah.
And then I have that Fender Strat All American,
Yeah.
which is nice.
Sweet.
But that's a super heavy guitar.
It is.
Yeah, and I don't like holding on to that one too long.
Okay, we just lost half our audience there.
Yeah, well,
nerding out on.
Welcome to
instruments
music podcast with Ted and Alex. Well, okay. So, anyways, let's get to this. If you ever wonder why you listen to the More podcast,
It's not for music.
it's not for music. We talk about Jesus and the Bible and all kinds of stuff. So this is why you listen to it. More stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and for eternity. So stop asking why you listen. Just never forget to listen and pass it on. Today's podcast is sponsored by the original Scratchpad Pro by Relatable, a cardboard laptop cat scratcher that's as fun as it is functional. Your feline deserves the best, so give them the ultimate workstation for scratching, lounging, and playing. This interaction cat toy keeps your indoor cat entertained and stylish while also satisfying their scratching needs. Now, these are some interesting features that you get with the Scratchpad. Engaging keyboard scratcher to keep those paws busy, a comfy place for your cat to work from home or just nap on the computer. Durable cardboard design for hours of clawful play. Interactive toys include a little fuzzy mouse with catnip in it.
Yeah.
So say goodbye to Scratch Furniture and hello to the Ultimate Cat Hangout. Get your furry friend their very own laptop and watch them type away one scratch at a time. And you can order this on Amazon for $29.99.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's real.
It's real. Yeah. I looked at it. I thought,
Yeah, the cat toy thing. I guess it's not super surprising. They have
Yeah,
lots
they have
of-
cat in it, yeah.
everything. So,
I think
are
it's
you a
interesting.
cat guy?
No,
Yes.
no, not at all. But I know there are cat
Amen.
people that listen to us.
Yeah, so we won't go down that trail.
Although,
'cause-
I wonder, I wonder if in China, we talked about this. Remember I mentioned last week, 2 people?
No.
Now we're up to 98.
Yeah?
98 listeners
Whoa.
in China. And I just got an email from...
That's incredible.
BeanPod saying, hey, you guys are really expanding.
Sure.
You're getting into places that, like other countries and stuff. And I'm
Where is Carson right now? He's in Japan.
He's in
not
Japan.
China.
No, he's
Okay.
not in China.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe we could like do a live podcast from China, right? You know how podcasts do that? They're always like,
see what he's doing,
travel around and stuff. Maybe Carson could host us, but he's in the wrong country.
If we, I think if what time is it right now? It's a little later in the day.
Yeah.
If we called him right when we start the
That'd be
podcast,
fun.
it would be nighttime for him.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So we
That
could
you
find
should
out.
set that up.
It should be like, hey, can I talk to you?
Yeah, and
where-
maybe it's just like we do fun like cultural differences or something like.
Yeah, that'd be
like
a good little
here.
segment.
Yeah,
Find out what's going
Yep.
on over there.
teach us about Japan, Carson.
Right. What do you
Yeah.
like and don't like about it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And, yeah. I think, well, he loves it
Does
because
he?
he billets at different places.
He
And
what?
He billets. He stays at people's homes.
Oh, I see.
And,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then they host him.
Yeah, you
and
get to
he gets
see
be a part
real
of the
life
culture.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not just staying in a hotel or something. That's great.
So he loves it. So yeah,
That's
you
cool.
just heard me hacking up my lungs there. It's not. I'm telling you right now. I apologize ahead of time. It's going to be a thing all through the podcast.
Yeah, it's been.
I mean, we're breathing through straws
Yeah,
right
it's-
now,
it's
and
been
so it's been fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I got this guy sitting across from me, Pastor Alex.
that's right.
His idea of getting organized, folks, is buying a new planner every January and then immediately losing it in the abyss of the Norton car.
That's right. Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
go.
That happens.
Is that true?
Yeah,
Your guys' car is so clean.
most of the time, but there are times when we start hauling stuff around.
I had a meeting with Jesus after I was in your car. 'Cause
Really?
My car
Yeah.
is literally like a football locker room.
But you got 3 kids in there.
We live in it.
Yeah.
Too.
We
It is
don't.
Literally, I've got all of Eli's football gear, my practice gear for
Yeah.
football. I mean, it's a hot mess back there.
And you take it with you everywhere you go. Usually in our car,
I'll
the
forget
back
it
is
if
all
it's
full.
not, so I just don't leave it there.
Well, right now, I literally have a jacket that I cannot find anywhere. I don't know where it went. And I thought it was in the car.
Yeah.
It could be still in the car. I just haven't found it yet. But we threw everything in the back. Yeah. It's interesting. Okay, well, across from me, on the other side of this table, he's the type of guy that doesn't believe in tuning his guitar. He says it's always in the key of authenticity.
That's
Pastor Ted. Yeah.
I haven't heard that. The key of jazz is what I always call it.
The key of jazz.
That's
Oh, I love
better.
it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you hear a weird note on Sunday, it's because it's authentic.
It's in the key of jazz.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're going to be right back with 10 reasons why popular fall leaf crafts might ruin your reputation, life, and relationships. Have you seen these?
Yes.
Every time during this year, we get thousands of TikToks and Instagrams of well-meaning moms.
Does anyone ever do it? Actually?
Yeah, they do.
Really?
That's the sad part. I'll tell you right now, if we walk down to the school and we walk to the lower grades,
You think? Oh, sure.
they're doing
Yeah,
they're
well,
doing some leaf
right.
craft right
Yeah.
now, and they bring it home to the parents, and they're like, "Look at what I made," you know, with wax paper and a leaf or whatever they're doing, and the parents are like, "Oh, that's so pretty," and it's not.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, every time my kid brought a leaf project home,
Yeah.
as much as I would lie to them about how good it looked, it's not.
Right.
It's a dead leaf.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that.
Sheesh.
How this stuff can ruin your life if you let
Okay.
it. So we'll be right back.
The Gap crew are diving headfirst into the world of podcasting, armed with a foldable table, hymnals as mic stands, and the kind of Wi-Fi that drops whenever you need it most. They're not professionals, and it shows. But that's what makes it great. It's messy, funny, and it's real.
All right. So, regardless of what you might see others doing with leaves this fall, I want you to seriously reconsider, please. Learn from my mistakes as a parent, where I had to live with this at least till about 6th grade, and then you kind of went to something else. It's a social media trap that has destroyed many homes and relationships. And honestly, why set yourself up to lie to your 3rd grader about dead leaves being beautiful, right?
Yeah.
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 So, basically, I want to help you out. So why should you stay away from leaf crafts this fall season? I don't care what they're saying on TikTok or Instagram. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop the madness already.
Sure, yeah.
You know, just let it go. If you want to look at the leaves, go outside in the woods and look around. Don't have to bring them in
nice
the house.
out there.
So these are some things why you should stop. First one is recommended by somebody because nothing says fall magic like crumbling leaves that disintegrate into a pile of sadness before you finish the craft. I mean, honestly, right? You're trying to get them in that wax paper. We used to put them in wax paper and iron them, and then hang them in the window like it's supposed to be kind of a cool thing. No. Here's another one. Fall leaf crafts are just a way to convince yourself that your home should look like the forest floor, but with more glue and glitter. Right?
Yeah. They will fall off the paper, and that's my biggest thing. It's gonna be on the floor.
It will be on the floor, and you'll have to vacuum it up.
Yeah.
And if you have an animal, they won't leave them alone.
No.
Especially the cat.
No.
Cat will destroy that thing.
Cats.
Listen, you live in northern Michigan. We're full of woods.
It's true.
If you got the itch to want to see leaves,
go to the woods.
go walk out.
Open your front door.
Where's that place that's got the sky bridge? Is that Boyne Mountain? Yeah.
You
Go do that. Get it out of your system.
Yeah, that's like, you can pay.
Get it out of your system before. Well, it's worth it though because then you can enjoy.
Sure.
Nature that way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to help people here, Ted. I mean, this is a sickness that has come over our grade school programs.
Okay.
After spending hours picking the perfect leaves, you get home to realize that they've dried up and are now best used as organic confetti. I mean, that's what I try to tell my kids when they bring them home. Why make leaf art when you could just stare out the window and watch them fall like nature intended? Less mess, same vibes. I mean, who was it? Jim Gaffigan said, you don't realize what's happening when leaves are falling. They're dying. Yeah, they're dying, and they're just you don't hear the screams.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You don't hear the screams of the leaves as they're dying. If you did, you wouldn't be putting them in plastic.
Right.
Here's another one. Because nothing's better than crafting with materials that your cat thinks are delicious. Goodbye, fall decor. Hello, weird leaf vomit. That's true.
It is.
My sister-in-law, they have a cat and it's eating leaves and leaving little mounds of leaf puke.
Yeah, no good.
Put that in your back pocket on this, huh? Yeah. It's all fun and games until your leaf wreath starts dropping more leaves in the tree you took them down from. Yeah, that's true.
Have you ever seen the meme that's like a pile of leaves with the like styrofoam ring not completed?
Yeah.
It has a sign on it that says just pretend it looks right. I ran out of time or whatever.
That is true. You can, Home Depot, or not Home Depot, but Hobby Lobby is selling those rings, and they have a fake leaf thing set up. Yeah. And so you can get the fake leaves and glue
that's
them on.
better. They won't crush or crumble.
Yeah, that is a lot better. But I'm assuming that at some point somebody's like, you know what, why do I want to buy the silk leaf or whatever it is?
Because it'll last.
I get it for free.
Yeah.
Well, you say that, and I say that, right? We're like, oh, that would make sense to use fake leaves because then you can pull it out next year.
Yeah.
But somebody's out there going, I want to help the environment. I want to do a real one.
Well, okay.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Here's another one. If you wanted that much nature in your house, you could have just let the yard keep growing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way less glue involved.
Could do that.
One. I haven't mowed my lawn yet. I got to get that done before October.
I am a firm believer in the mulching thing.
Oh yeah.
Let them fall.
Mulch them
up.
That's what I do with mine.
Yep.
And then there's like nice little pieces.
Yes.
And
it's good for your lawn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't like blowing them into the wood. I have so many.
Yeah. Well, I do that, and then it looks like you got like a wall of leaves around your yard. And
oh yeah,
silly.
Well, because what I do is I blow them off into the woods.
Sure, same.
Like
me too.
Take your death back. I don't.
Right.
Want it. Yeah.
Mow them up.
Mow them up.
It's good for your lawn.
Here's another one. This is actually speaking to what I've been saying the whole time. Pinterest makes leaf craft look easy until you realize you're basically taping dead plant bits to paper and calling it art.
Yeah.
That is the truth.
It is true.
I mean, let's just be honest already.
Glorifying death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you want that in there? Okay. Who needs a tasteful autumn-inspired centerpiece when you could just scatter a bunch of leaves on the table and call it rustic?
Try that with Amy.
I would get killed. But honestly, we went to an October wedding one time.
That's what they
did.
And
they did.
Yeah.
They took real leaves, put them as a centerpiece all along the long table. And I'm like, why? Why?
Because they probably forgot centerpieces, and that was their last-minute decision on that one.
Yeah, somebody said, oh, I saw this on Pinterest. This would be really cute.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't care. You could put a candle next to the dead leaf. It's still going to be a dead leaf. It doesn't look good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if it's got color, I guess.
I mean, just stop the madness already. Here's another one. Fall leaf crafts are overrated because once winter hits, you're stuck explaining to guests why you still have a tree taped to your refrigerator.
Hey,
Isn't that so true?
It is.
Yeah. So stop it.
Can we just sort of shift a little bit? It's
Yeah.
still in like fall decor,
Yeah.
fall like lawn decorations. Can we talk about the overly aggressive like just straight demonic like skeletons and
Oh,
have
yeah.
you been into Lowe's? Like I was in
No, I
Lowe's.
haven't.
They A have their Christmas stuff out now.
Yeah.
And it's across from B their Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Christmas stuff makes me happy. I love Christmas. I walked in there. It is it's a literal like goblin guy with a hat, 7 feet tall, Alex.
Yeah.
Holding a gun.
What?
And then he talks about like I'm coming for you in your sleep. Like it's basically talking about how he's gonna murder you.
Right, yeah.
It is way aggressive.
That's exactly what you want.
I'm in there with my 11-year-old. Eli is a sensitive kid about
Yeah.
that. Does not want to see anything scary. It
And
will
that
freak him
would
out.
scare him.
Dude, and then they got the pumpkin guy.
Yeah.
That thing's 20 feet tall.
Is it really?
It's enormous, right? It is super, super big, and it's absolutely terrifying.
Don't they have? Isn't Lowe's the one that has the giant skeleton that blows up?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I was, again, I'm all about the Christmas stuff. We do it out.
Yeah.
We put stuff in our yard for Christmas, and maybe I'm being a little biased on that, but I just feel like it's a little strange,
Right, yeah.
when you're like, let's put this bloody corpse in my yard.
It looks good, doesn't it?
That's
yeah.
kind of weird. Kind of weird.
Yeah. Well,
Here are my children.
my kids never, when they would get ready for Halloween, and we would let them trick or treat. I know all the parents in this church now are going to hate me, but we let the kids trick or treat. And when we used to live in cities, you get a lot of candy, walking around. And we'd always make our kids where they could do superheroes. One time, I think my son wanted to dress up as Jesus, and we're like, that's a little too far.
Yeah.
So he was like, it would be fun. I'm like, no, let's just have Jesus in your heart.
Yeah.
Not wear a costume about it. So I think he dressed up like Moses or something. I don't know. It was something biblical. And, and we would do that, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
I think we had fun getting the candy and having fun doing that. But, you'd have these parents that let their kids run around in these just awful horror, things.
Yeah.
And then this is the other thing that drives me nuts. And I told Amy this is I don't know if you notice this too. Well, if you go to Walmart, the adult costumes are getting a little out of hand.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean,
for sure.
If your wife is going to buy one of those costumes, basically, she's looks like she's getting ready to go to the stripper pole or something. I mean, it's just really bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
And it's not it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not fun.
You want to dress up like a hot fire woman or whatever, and it's like that's not Halloween. I mean, for me, it's not.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. This is becoming a big thing.
Yeah. So it is weird. Halloween is a weird thing. My favorite story from a friend of mine is so his mom, the sweetest lady in the world. She's a children's ministry director. Just the best.
Mm-hmm.
She homeschooled her kids early on.
Yeah.
And was very much so in the camp of no Halloween.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. And she finally relented. Her
Mm-hmm.
kids, so homeschool mom, finally relents and lets her kids go to a harvest party. Right? She's no harvest party. Right?
Never.
So
Yeah.
this is her son telling the story,
Mm-hmm.
and she said, "You can go, but we're dressing up as the 10 Commandments."
What? How the heck do you do that?
So they wore like sandwich boards over
Yeah.
it.
Oh my
Each of the
gosh.
commandments on them.
Walking 10 Commandments. I
it
love
was like her protest to the harvest party at this church.
Have fun with that, kids. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it was so funny.
Well, way to go. Well, at least she interacted.
That's right, man.
I think it's.
Kids got to have some candy, and
I mean, let's get
Mom
through.
made their point.
Let's get through Halloween. Get to buffet time with Turkey Day.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving's just the pre-warm up.
Oh my gosh.
I'm
I'm so ready for Thanksgiving.
As November 1 hits, it is all Christmas.
Well, yeah.
And we celebrate. I mean, I'm all about Thanksgiving, but it's just like,
let's get into
awesome.
the creepy guy that comes in your house. Time shows up in a red suit. I mean, you know, seriously, let's think about this whole thing. When I say, you know, something's wrong, we talk about it in staff meeting. Let's talk about the red flags.
Yeah.
Hello, Santa comes walking in a red suit, and for generations we've been like, "There's no red flag with a guy creeping in my house." The guy's actually, you know, broadcasting.
Yeah.
What he's about ready to do. I don't know.
Breaking and entering.
Breaking and entering and you let him in your door.
That's right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
If you believe in that, I mean, my kids never believed in it. We set them off early.
Okay.
We broke the news to them pretty early. And, you know, we talked about the St. Nicholas guy.
Yeah.
You know,
that story's the best.
You just needed to do something like that. Yeah. Well, we're going to take an ID break and come back with Babylon News.
Attention listeners, this is not a drill. We are hijacking your airwaves for the Gap Crew on More Podcast. That's right, web. Forget everything you were planning to do because I'm here to bring you the most hilarious, uplifting, and downright divine podcast experience you've ever had. So, drop what you're doing, crank up the volume, and get ready for a spiritual joyride. This is More Podcast with the Gap Crew, and we're taking over.
This is Babylon Bee News. I'm Stacy Cloud. Juafat Al-Kafrayan of Jordan. Researchers in the Jordan River Valley say they've uncovered the first extra-biblical evidence of John the Baptist with a completely intact pair of tighty whities. We've known for some time that all the greatest baptizers of history, from John the Baptist to Russell Brand, wore tighty whities while baptizing, and this just confirms it, said Mary Ambrose, a researcher with the Jordanian Department of Antiquities. After years of searching, we finally have what may be the most important pair of tighty whities in history. In Mark's Gospel, John the Baptist is described as clothed with camel's hair and wearing a leather belt around his waist. However, his underwear was never described in sacred scripture, leading many to think the cousin of Jesus went commando. We now know definitively that when he baptized people, he'd remove all his clothing except for his tighty whities before heading into the Jordan River, said Dr. Connecticut James, a historian specializing in the history of the ancient Levant. You can't wear camel hair in the water because it shrinks. Theologians say this lends credence to the first century practice of baptism by total immersion, prompting the Eastern Orthodox Church to become particularly smug. He wouldn't need to wear tighty whities out in the river if he was sprinkling water on people, said Patriarch Theophilus III of Jerusalem, a leader within the Eastern Orthodox Church. Yet another reason we are better than Catholics. This has been Babylon Bee News. I'm Stacy Cloud, reporting exclusively on More Podcast.
Hey, who's the Russell Brand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you see that picture of him? So he's a British comedian. And he's recently converted to Christianity.
No, I have not. No.
Very public about his faith in Jesus. And
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
So he recently baptized a buddy of his.
Okay.
He did it in his tighty whities because it was like spontaneous.
Yeah.
And he's a good looking dude, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so the internet's killing him on it because it's a picture of him in his underwear baptizing somebody, and he's like, "Hey, man."
That's what John the Baptist did, apparently.
That's right.
He had tighty whities. I think it makes sense. I mean, honestly, I don't ever want to think of Jesus, you know, walking around with no tighty whities on. I mean, Jesus knew. He invented them.
I guess. The undergarments.
He had invented undergarments before undergarments were even known about. And actually, if you read Leviticus, the priests had to wear undergarments.
Right, that's true. Yeah. So
tighty whities have been around for a long time. So this makes sense.
They just call them something else.
Yeah. I mean, they had a very biblical name for them. But yeah, I mean, come on. It makes perfect sense to me. I totally agree with this article, even if it's not true. I thought
I get all excited about like historical Bible stuff. You know? you're like, you find something. Oh, what'd we find?
Yeah, let's talk about this one.
Yeah.
This is kids. Did you know that John the Baptist probably had tighty whities on? All right, we're going to take another ID break and come back with Rapture Ready News.
Why are you still listening? I know, right? We are weirdly addicting. I promise, we do get serious. Stay tuned to more podcasts.
Get Rapture ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead. And Pastor Ted. Don't forget Pastor Ted on there. The guy always does. He forgets.
I know.
Forgets you in there.
He's got to step his game up.
Problem is, I can't find this song again.
Yeah, don't do it.
That we recorded from somewhere, and so
Don't worry about
I'm like, I need to.
This isn't the song.
Get it in
Can't
there,
change
and I
this
just
song.
can't do it.
Nope, don't do it.
Can't find it.
No.
Well, something interesting hit the news recently. I would say probably some of the greatest minds in the church have actually looked into this, and this is a true story. Big tech, they say, not government overreach, poses the biggest threat to religious liberty in 2024 and beyond. A lot of the legal experts and theologians talk about. Basically, the article says that big tech's influence on our culture is having more and more control over freedom of speech. Freedom of the church, and it's actually becoming controlled by the government, which means they're going to have more control over what we say. And I can honestly, firsthand, I can say this happened to me with Facebook. I got shut down. Had an account for 11 years, and they shut me down over a comment I made about the Olympics. So firsthand, I've experienced what they're talking about here.
They took your Facebook page away. It wasn't just like you're in jail for a little bit.
No, they deleted the whole thing. They deleted everything.
No way.
Messenger, Instagram, everything.
Really?
Yeah, 11 years worth of Facebook. And
Worth
they
of
deleted it.
absolute internet gold.
Oh, just good stuff. All the good stuff. Yeah.
all the Star Wars memes
All
gone.
of them. Gone. All the videos I've made over the years. Gone.
No, that is crazy.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. Huh.
And and it was over, somebody reported me for hate speech.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
And it was probably nobody that really believed in
and
what was going on in
that's
France,
so crazy. Huh. So the idea is big tech is going to be the ones who overreach rather than the government.
It's a great, well, they're going to be actually working with
Together,
the government.
I see. Okay, sorry.
The government's going to start using them. So free speech and religion probably censored more.
Yeah.
You know, what's interesting, though, I was watching the vice presidential debate last night.
Yeah.
And that was one of the last things that J.D. Vance brought up, too, is that censorship is becoming a problem because it's being politicized and used as a weapon.
Yeah.
And shutting people down. So it's you think you live in the land of free speech and our, what is it, First Amendment, right, to say what we want to say.
Sure.
It might not be there anymore. You might be censored. And we've noticed that here even in church.
Yeah.
You know, we post stuff from the service on Facebook and it gets pulled down because we mentioned something about transgenders or homosexuals or abortion.
Sure.
And it gets pulled down. One of the people that was cited on there was Coach Joe Kennedy Case. He's having a legal battle over the public expression of faith being shut down. I think that was a coach that got busted for wanting to, was it pray or something?
Yeah, I think he prayed with students or something.
And they didn't want him to do that, and he wanted to pray at a game, and they shut him down for that.
Yeah.
And so, but the problem is they're saying that Christians aren't doing anything about it. Christians aren't getting involved as much as they should. And so they're kind of just letting this censorship creep in, but Christians aren't really standing up for our free speech rights. And so they're asking that we start thinking about this more and more and willing to elect people that will fight for it. We need to get in the battle and fight for it.
What does that fight look like? Like, what does it mean to fight for this?
Well, right now they're trying to use the Supreme Court to establish, like this case with the coach. He's trying to get the Supreme Court involved. But you know,
so and I think there's a sense of awareness to it too. I think the thing that you always kind of run into of like, I think there's a fine line between calling something persecution, Christians, right? Like, let's not call this persecution.
No,
right?
it's not.
It's not persecution. We have friends around the world who are dying or suffering that way. But this is something that, as we continue to look down the pipe of our country and what we want for our kids and grandkids, and there is this just God-given right that we believe in America, that you have the ability to say what you believe,
which is being quietly taken away from us. Yeah.
And it is like it's a foundation we're built upon, and if you slowly erode it, it kind of, it is almost this sense of like, oh, when do we lose it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's exactly what they're saying is going to happen.
So
yeah.
you can't let that slow erosion happen.
Right.
And it seems like it's not even maybe that slow anymore. So.
Well, you know, social media, I mean, I remember it wasn't too long ago we didn't have much.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember my first MySpace, you know, and that was a lot of fun, you know,
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
people about your life and that kind
Sure.
of stuff. And, you know, it's just interesting, though, that the things that are being, you know, canceled and
Sure.
censored are the things that deal with, you know, church life,
Yeah.
Christianity,
Absolutely.
our faith, our
Yeah,
religion.
absolutely.
So, you know, and the things that are being highlighted are things that are on the other side, you know, like transgender,
Right.
you know, gay rights and abortion.
And you think about, like, if you're a tech company, you know, we can look at social media sites and know, like, they're owned.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is literally everybody's at the playground. We're all using it,
Right.
but it's one person who owns the thing who gets to decide.
Right,
And
yeah.
That's scary.
Right.
That's scary. Where, you know, we'd like to think our government's set up with checks and balances, and there's this sense that we have representation, and
Right.
and maybe you have representation that doesn't represent you, but the sides are represented.
Right, yeah.
Where for a privately owned company, boy, man, that's a scary, you know, thing to look at. Is in that regard of
Well, they're doing it
one
more
person.
and more. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like Facebook alone, somebody got a hold of their filter list that they're trying to train their AI to learn.
Okay.
To point
yeah,
to when
Yeah,
things
yeah.
start showing up. And they said, you know, it's amazing how many religious terms and phrases are
Wow.
on that
Yeah.
on that list that, you know, they would consider to be inflammatory comments
Sure.
or hate speech or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We wouldn't. You know, we wouldn't at all. I mean, when we talk
Right.
about issues like sin and going to hell,
Yeah,
and
right.
those kind of things, to us, it's just, you know,
Sure.
doing business.
right. Yeah, man. Yeah, it is. That is a crazy, crazy thing.
So, you know, some of the things they say that we need to start doing is we need to start having discussions about this and speaking out and being an advocate for religious freedom. They also argue that religious communities have to begin to start being actively in the process of protecting our rights.
Yeah.
And fighting these tech companies that are coming up with these other reasons for why we shouldn't talk about what we believe, and, you know, really, you know, getting into the conversation about diverse beliefs, which is I think this is the part that kind of scares people. Is the fact is when we're advocating for First Amendment rights, that means we also have to protect other people's rights.
Yeah.
People that we don't agree
Yeah,
with.
right.
Right. And I think that's what's interesting about the church, where they're trying to shut us down. We're saying it's okay. I mean, honestly, it's okay to talk about your transgender rights,
Sure.
abortion, and all that stuff, but don't take my rights away
Sure.
to speak out against it and say
Right.
things
Yes.
that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
So you can't have it just one-sided.
Sure.
And I think that's what we're seeing is that the other side is quietly shutting us down so that we can't have a voice, but they can say whatever they want.
Right.
And so this is what the article's saying is
Wow.
we need to be careful. And is it, and, you know, November 5th comes around and we vote
Oh,
people
boy.
in. You need to vote people in that are going to
right.
protect that right and
Yeah.
not try to shut it down. I mean, honestly, I'm just going to say the other side wants to take that right away from you.
Right.
As you know, as much as some
who
people
gets to decide, right, what is right and wrong? And it's Bible believing Christians. That answer is an easy and quick one of the Lord and His
Right.
Word, and you know, so there's this sense that, man, you can go pretty fast down the road of,
Yeah.
you know, let's moral objectivity of, well, just figure it out as we go. Well,
Right.
no, as Christians, we stand on truth. We stand on the sense that we know where truth comes from.
and we
You
should
know,
have the right to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I can't remember where I saw it, but it was there was an incident at a historical black university where some super racist men came, right? So KKK, the epitome of it all, right? Came,
Right.
and it clearly was hate speech,
Right.
And there were students at this historical black college who said their right for free speech still exists. Let them talk. And there was an interviewer who came and said, why
Right,
do
right.
that? And it just sticks with me. You know, this really, really well-spoken man. He just said the best ideas will stick around, and those that are not will go away.
Yeah.
And if you try to stifle, if you try to put policy in place or some sort of institutional control of what someone can say,
right,
that weaponizes and then kind of gives this persecution complex to that idea,
right,
and that idea can grow even more. And so his point was, if it's a bad idea, let them say it. It's
right,
going to die. Right. But
Put
the
it out
last
there.
thing we want to do is weaponize it for them. And that's what you do when you say you can't say that because it doesn't line up with what I believe.
I like that.
And I thought that was a perfect
that's
example
really good.
of, of like, man, no, that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of, it may take longer and you may have to listen to a bunch of nonsense. But boy, it seems what we're kind of based on in this country of,
well, you hope.
Let's figure out what the best idea is and hold on to it.
Well, and people, I think, would see the fallacy of some of these arguments. I mean, that's what I like about the Matt Walsh and was it Chelsea Gabbard?
Yeah.
Talking about how this concept of free speech, let it be at the campuses, let people talk about it,
right?
And then people can judge from both sides, and once they hear the arguments, they realize that somebody is just not making any sense.
Somebody is wrong, right, on the two opposing views. Yeah, and I just don't know what the fear is. You know what I mean? Like, what's the fear of letting someone say something crazy?
I don't know.
And realize we can be critical thinking people, and that is crazy.
Well, I think Christians need to get thick skins too.
Yeah, I do
because I mean, we kind of, when we get into these kind of discussions, we want to break the glass and go for the emergency, hatchet and start going after things.
Right.
And the thing is, we got to be careful too. I mean, we got to start stepping back, going, it's okay if they don't want to agree with me. I don't have to have everybody agree with me about my faith.
Yeah.
And even Jesus said that in the end times people will oppose who we are. They oppose me, they're going to oppose you.
That's right. And I think don't expect institutions that are not Christian to act Christian.
Right. Good point. Yeah.
Don't expect non-Christians to act like a Christian.
Right.
They're acting like the world. They
and
need Jesus.
Don't be surprised.
Right.
I think even Pastor Gary said that on Sunday, didn't he? About how not to expect non-Christians to act like Christians.
Right. And it's not an excuse not to fight for what you believe in and fight for your freedoms and those kinds of things. But don't be surprised,
Just be ready to talk about it.
That's right.
Be ready to give an answer like Paul told Timothy. Right. Whenever you are questioned, give an answer. Doesn't mean beat them up with it, but be prepared to answer for what you believe.
Yeah.
Because honestly, they can't. When you ask them why they believe what they believe, most of it is just gobbledygook,
right?
And things that have no impact or weight.
That's right.
And they think, and a lot of it's just emotional fervor for trying to protect their position.
Sure,
and it's nothing else. So, well, that's Rapture News. We're going to come right back with Harbor Light Bible Trivia, and Pastor Ted's got a really interesting question for us because we don't have the guru here to talk about it. So we'll be right back.
I know you thought you were listening to a church podcast. Sorry, not sorry. We are a group of pastors that put the fun back in faith. Trust me, that works because fun and faith both start with F. Anyways, just keep listening. More podcast will be right back.
All right, so here we are with the big question, and I think we're going to hold off on the winner of the big question until PG gets back.
Yeah. Maybe he'll find something cool in Canada.
Yeah, maybe you might get yourself a fish.
A milk in a bag.
A milk in a bag.
What's like stereotypical Canadian stuff?
Well, he always likes to come back with some special maple syrup that he found somewhere.
That
he
might
loves
be
it. Yeah.
Maybe you'll come back with free healthcare.
Yeah, right. Can we get that? Can come back with a free healthcare card for all of us?
Maybe. Yeah. I'm gonna run
free Canadian healthcare for a year from more podcasts.
Don't see your doctor for a year and a half, but it's free.
I wonder if you have all this telehealth stuff going on, right? Why couldn't we do that with Canada? I mean, if we wanted to use their insurance,
you got lots of Canadians coming to Petoskey to go to the doctor.
That's true. Yeah.
Because
they can't get procedures done where they're at.
No, they cannot.
Well, if you want to be a part of the question and get your name into the magic hat of Wilson Insurance, where all the dreams come true.
When the boss is away.
Yeah, when the boss is away. You can send it to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com. harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com. All lowercase. And Pastor Ted, what's the question?
All right, so this is going back to kind of your Sunday school days as a young kid. Okay, so this will kind of be fun. For how much was Joseph sold into slavery?
Ooh.
So if you can kind of go back in your cataloged head of
when he was sold into slavery.
Yeah. And then maybe your little hint here is it's going to be in Genesis chapter 37.
Chapter 37, you can find it there.
Yep.
How much was he sold for?
How much was Joseph?
I think we should get the amount that they sold him for there, and then what is the equivalent amount in U.S. dollars? Right. That'd be interesting. Yeah. If you know the answer to that, send it to harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, harborlightbibletrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, and let us know. And, for our Chinese listeners, you can send it to us in Mandarin. We can translate it on this end.
Wow.
So, yeah. In India, China, and a few other places. So, I think if, the people in Britain that listen to us, we can pretty much understand that.
Do we have people in Britain?
We do.
No way.
Yeah, we had
That's
6.
Awesome.
6 download it last week.
How cool, man.
I know.
That's so fun.
We're an international podcast. I don't think people realize.
I'm telling you, we got to go on tour.
We're an international podcast, and we want to meet all 11 of our fans around the world. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Come host us.
Yeah. So, send that in, and we'll put your name into the Wilson Insurance hat where all the magic happens and the dreams come true. And then we pull your name for a special gift that we have found somewhere, on our many tours of garage sales and going to Canada and whatever else we've done.
Fishing lure.
Fishing
lures, maybe.
That Pastor Gary's made with
Grandpa's fishing lure, like a really old one.
Well, Pastor Gary loves to watch that show Alone.
Yeah.
And he's always trying to do what they do. Like, they make fishing lures out of sticks and whatever else they find.
Like an old tin can.
Yeah. And he's like all about it. And I'm like, this is hilarious. I think you should go on the show. I told him you should just do it once. Go. Let me put you on my diet for a few months before you go. Just fatten you up. And then when you can go, you'll be ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
It's that time of the show. You want back what the enemy stole. More podcast listeners, saddle up.
Well, we've been talking about, we just started a new series on the Bait of Satan from John Bevere, and it's been really good. I mean, we've got small groups that are doing it. We have just a lot of stuff going on with this book. But if you've never heard of the Bait of Satan was written by John Bevere. It's a book that addresses the dangers of offense in the life of a believer. It explains how offense is a trap used by Satan to hinder our relationships with God and others, leading to bitterness and unforgiveness. And Bevere does a good job. He offers practical advice on how to recognize and overcome offenses, to live free from their negative impact and experience true spiritual growth and freedom through forgiveness. I encourage you to get the book. The book emphasizes the importance of choosing reconciliation and guarding our hearts against offense. If you've never read this before, you're not a part of our church, you grab one at the Amazon local bookstore. It's definitely worth the read because I think all of us at some point have dealt with offenses that have caused us to just become not like what we should be as believers. I mean, we've put up walls that have kept us from having relationships with other people. Well, Pastor Gary highlighted chapter 2 of the Bait of Satan this last Sunday, entitled Massive Offenses. And John Bevere discusses in that chapter, how offenses, particularly those from close relationships, can have powerful and damaging effects on our lives. And so in the book, he emphasizes that the greater the intimacy, the deeper the potential hurt. Bevere explains that holding on to offenses can lead to bitterness, affecting our spiritual growth and relationship with God. And so the chapter highlights the need to recognize offenses as a spiritual trap and to choose forgiveness to experience true freedom and growth. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting. Pastor Gary brought up in this message, he showed us a trap that we'd all probably recognize. Yeah. And talking about how it works, a mechanism, all that stuff. Right. And it's sort of really what we begin to understand about this sin of offense. It works a lot like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering about this. That principle of closeness increases the potential for offense. Like that's an obvious one, right? Yeah. The closeness of relationship. I kind of went to why. What about even like in the church, right? Mm-hmm. So why is it that I feel like that friendship, relationship, or whatever, if I'm offended by somebody even in the church, that's even ramped up even more.
Oh yeah.
And I think it has to do, right, with this sense of we're in this together spiritually, and we're seeking the Lord together, and we believe in the mission of the church that God's called us to be a part of, and so then all of a sudden you get hurt by somebody that really can knock you off your horse. I was can I tell you a story?
Yeah, definitely.
I was again, when I read that, I was thinking about my experiences in ministry, and I think you could get a bunch of pastors in a room and talk about the offenses that they've experienced as a church, right? So a lot of church hurt within kind of the ministry stuff. So one of the things that I remember was being an early worship pastor in a church, and I was going to lead a song, and the song had it was a hymn, right? And so there's the zhuzhed up version.
Yeah, right. Yeah. The TED version.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I'm going to do the zhuzhed up version. And I thought this will be great, right?
Yeah,
like the words are amazing. You know, the melody's a little stodgy, so we need to help that out. But this will be invitational was the language I was using at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Invitational to those who didn't grow up with the song. Right. And so I remember it was with youth group kids. It was really, really not a great worship team that sounded. It was a great worship team, just didn't sound very good.
Yeah, they were working on it.
Great people. But, lots of youth group kids and kind of, new into all that serving stuff at church. So, so we play the song, congregation stands up, and I'll never forget, and this was a previous ministry I was a part of, but one of our senior saints, Pastor Alex, one of our senior saints, looked me dead in the eyes as I was singing it and just slowly shook his head back and forth.
He didn't like it, apparently.
Apparently.
Yeah, apparently not.
And that ruined it. That ruined me for a good amount of time. And I think I handled it well. I think there was a sense of, all right, Lord, I know this guy. I know he loves you.
Yeah.
We need to figure this out. And so I was thinking about that first step maybe for folks who feel like, man, this person gutted me. And I think especially in the church, right? There is this call to one another to go, you and I know what the grace of Jesus is. You and I have experienced the grace of Jesus in all kinds of areas. This is one more area we can experience it. So be the person who's going to take the step towards someone when you've been offended. That was the principle I walked away with, right?
Yeah.
Is you be the person who's going to take the step toward the person, so to speak,
right,
in relationship. And
I like that.
A pretty good place to start.
It's that's a good point. I mean, it's an excellent point. And that's one thing, we were talking about this closeness, and the first thing that came to my mind is all the times I've offended my family, my wife, just by my behavior or attitude or actions. And how if it's not dealt with, especially in the close environment, it turns into weeks and weeks of silence and isolation. And for a while there, you really try to. I think anybody that's offended someone will try to stand on that mountaintop, acting like I didn't do anything wrong,
right?
And then eventually realize the devastation you're causing, and you deal with it. And in the church, it's interesting because we only see each other a few times a week, and we've offended somebody. We can hold on to things for years.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, there's been people, you've probably met them before that have been offended by what a pastor said or somebody's treated them a certain way or whatever. And but I think Pastor Gary mentioned a really important thing is that we've got to be careful not to be so sensitive too.
Yes.
With the things that are happening around us and pulling on offenses for no reason.
Right.
Because somebody misunderstands something or does something. And that's one thing that I would appreciate more in church environment. Is for people to stop being so offended by everything.
Yeah, I think I think in our culture today, as somebody who has been divorced, right? So in some of the work that I did early on, it was talking about the language within kind of divorce care groups would be like, well, he's a gaslighter, or she's a gaslighter, or they're manipulative, they're abusive verbally, whatever. And it's not to say that isn't actually true,
right?
Like that can be true, but I would say too, in just kind of general sense of interacting with people, especially within the church, no one is who they are on their worst day.
Right. Yeah.
Right. No one is just that thing that you want to place upon them because they said one thing wrong.
Right. Yeah.
That senior saint was not my enemy. He was not against me. Right. He didn't like what I did. Clearly.
Right. Yeah.
But,
clearly he didn't. But, he wasn't into your version. Yeah.
He didn't hate me.
Yeah.
He didn't want me gone. It was none of that. Right. And so I do think that, right, like not being so sensitive or willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. I do think there's something that's lost today in that, because we want to write people off and say, well, they're a gaslighter.
Yeah.
They're manipulative, where maybe, again, not saying that doesn't happen and you need to be wise and know who you trust, that kind of thing. But again, no one is who they are on their worst day. That is just
That's
who
a good
they
point,
are.
yeah.
And so, let's not be so offended all the time. Let's have thicker skin, Christians. Let's be people who, offer grace freely and often. And
that's why, for me, people that get to know me eventually, they know that I'm a little sarcastic. I have a little fun with that.
Yeah.
I try not to do anything that's bad. I'm a little sarcastic about things. And a lot of that is because I don't like being around people that are so sensitive to so much. And it's just like you can't do anything.
Right.
Because they're automatically offended by whatever it is you just did. And so I've always used that as a mechanism to test the waters, to try to figure out, what kind of people am I working with? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And, good, right, wrong, whatever it is. I stay miles away from people that live their life in this drama mode of constantly being offended by everything. Because I don't like it. I don't want to be around you.
Right.
I don't want to be around, that drama. I don't want to be around that sensitivity.
Sure.
Like just talking about things like, Halloween or whatever.
Yeah.
You meet people that, are so adamantly opposed to it. Like, you're inviting the devil into your home. If you think about Halloween, well, you know what? As a believer in Christ, that stuff's like water on the duck's back kind of thing. I don't really think that's that big of a issue. You just don't do it. I mean, you don't support it. You don't celebrate it. But to make it an issue where some people, go off the deep end with it. But it's like that with everything. I had, a couple of years ago, I had an argument with somebody over Christmas. And, they're like, well, in our house, we don't celebrate Christmas, and I'm like, good for you.
Yeah.
We do.
Right.
And as soon as I told them we do, they're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
I don't know if I could ever be in your church anymore. With you believe, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And I think I do think that there's two things to think about as someone who, on your end, like being able to be the person who is able to show a little grace and understand and know, but on that person who is, I have at times known that I've been sensitive or I've felt offended, and being able to do a little work in me, kind of with self-reflection of going, what are the hurts? What are the experiences that I've had that have led me to this place? Because that's good work to do.
Yeah, you should.
And I think you're going to be better off for it. So, knowing the root of something, knowing, and I hope this doesn't sound pop culture-y, psychology or anything like that, but being able to get at it and go, oh, right, like, my dad treated me this way, positively or negatively, and that affected me today this way.
That's a good thing to do.
It is good work to do. And I think that your relationships will benefit for it.
Yeah, I think in the long run it will.
Yeah.
One of the things that he brings up in his book is, why does closeness increase the potential for offense, and how can we guard against it? And it basically says a lot of the things we talked about.
You're going to be more vulnerable with people you're close with, right?
So have clear communication.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things you can do is, if you feel offended, then just say that was not nice. I don't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Or I have a different viewpoint. Yeah. But, don't let it take root in your life and become something bigger between you and that person.
Have the 2-minute conversation rather than have this thing grow and build to something where it can ruin the relationship. Absolutely.
Like we just said too, I mean, I set boundaries with people that I don't that are very offensive, or I feel like they're going to take everything I say as an offense.
Yeah. How about this one? So again, I think this is so crazy when we think about this in light of where we are today. So a question of, how do biblical examples of offense reflect what we experience today, and how can we grow and learn from them? So Joseph's betrayal.
Yeah. It's interesting you asked that question.
Man.
Yeah.
Right, there you go.
How'd you know? How did you know?
I did not. I promise you. How Joseph's betrayal is crazy.
Yeah.
Offensive. It is. And again, if you were to look at that today, people would advise Joseph
to
stay far, far away
and get a lawyer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, and just thinking about that, like, boy.
Yeah, I know.
What is that about?
Yeah, his own brothers sell him into slavery, and then he gets into different situations. He gets accused of trying to have his way with the wife of one of the Pharaoh's guards. And
I just think that is so helpful for me to think about. My response as a Christian should look so drastic than the world's response to somebody who's hurt me.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just should. And that is not something we like to hear today.
No. Because we all are right fighters, right?
Yes.
Our culture has developed a mindset within the Christian church that we're right fighters. So, like, I mean, just talk about where we're at right now with the election issues and some of these other things. If you don't agree with me, then you're going to hell. You're having, and I'm offended because you don't agree with me. And so we can never have conversations anymore. We can't have a conversation with you because we're so adamantly opposed to what you believe. And in a sense, we get almost disgusted by what you've said to us that we never can have that conversation.
Sure.
And the problem is that we have exempted ourselves from the possibility of making change and helping other people.
Yes.
And we do that constantly.
Right.
And we do that within the church environment. If somebody offends us, instead of having a conversation, helping them to grow as a saint, we back off and say, well, I'm not dealing with that anymore.
Yeah. I just, all the labels that people will put on somebody else today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And just say, well, they're a manipulator or they're a gaslight. Again, and it's not to say that stuff is not true.
Right.
But I think we've had so much, I don't know if Oprah-izing is a word.
Yeah, I think it's a good word. Yeah, yeah.
Like there's this sense that we all have some sort of silly psychology understanding where, man, again, no one's who they are on their worst day.
Yeah,
no one is, and grace is needed.
Yeah, extensive grace.
That is the Jesus response to someone who's hurt you.
Yeah.
And we need to do a better job of that.
Well, there are people that
I need to do a better job of that.
I think we all do. I think we all have to be watching that. I mean, there are things that people say to me that could be offensive to me, and they don't even know what they just said.
Yep.
I had it's funny because I had a friend of ours one time. I was having problems with my back, right?
Yeah.
And I was just it's a sciatic pinched nerve. It's nothing I can really do about it unless I get surgery or whatever, which I don't want to. And so they came up to me well-meaning and they said, well, really one of your main problems is you're just fat.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate thank you for loving me enough to tell me the truth, which I apparently don't know,
Oh my God.
So I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. I said, it's not necessarily all weight. It is an actual problem, but I do appreciate you saying that. And,
oh man,
I've gotten to a place in my mindset that not too much bothers me anymore, but that did a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so this whole time I'm living my life and people are looking at me going, man, it's a Kool-Aid man walking through the room.
Man.
So it was just one of those things. And so I was a little offended. I talked to my wife about it. And I just realized, it's not that big of a deal because I knew where it was coming from. I knew his heart. I could understand that he was really was really concerned for me.
Yep.
And the way he put it may not have been the best.
Right.
But instead of being offended by it, it was not the best. And so, I understand it. I understand it was out of heart love. And it wasn't something that I was going to come back and I'm going, who are you to call me?
Sure.
So that's one of the things.
Do you think that there's this, like we've experienced this around Harbor Light a little bit, the person who wants to kind of like be the arbiter of truth, the prophetic, I heard from the Lord.
Oh yeah.
And I think there's this weird thing with that, like Christians, right? We need to take notice. Use your prophetic voice. Like if God has gifted you that way, use it.
Right.
But it does not excuse you to be a jerk.
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I don't know what it is. Like but it just feels like folks who kind of live in that gifting at times, I don't want to just say everybody, but at times, man, it just feels like you can kind of be mean with them, right? It's not edifying. It's not building up, right? That we get kind of this New Testament mandate of this is what
you're empowered to treat somebody like garbage,
right? Like, well, thus saith the Lord.
Yeah, sorry, man.
You're fat. You're whatever, right? Like, that's a weird thing in the church.
It is.
That's a weird thing in the church.
I mean, people got to be careful with that. I mean, I would say be careful whenever you say "Thus saith the Lord." Anyways, I mean, you're really heaping some judgment on you, from above, and I would not want to ever put myself in a position. That's for sure. I was knew for sure.
Absolutely,
that was something I needed to say. But because back in the Old Testament, the old law was you could stone somebody if it didn't come true,
right?
And that's just not a place you want to be. I mean, you got the judgment of God now squarely focused on you when you lead somebody astray.
And I think about, like, again, here at Harbor Light, like, we've had, our worship nights are one of my more favorite things that we do. And we have times where people are speaking truth into people's lives.
Yeah.
And I've been the beneficiary of that, seeing my kids just come alive. You know what I mean? Like, really, the Holy Spirit had met them. And that is nothing better, right?
That's a cool thing.
It's not to say don't do it. I think it's just as a Christian, as when you're speaking into somebody's life, right? There is this sense of, I'm so thankful for, Pastor Gary's influence in my life. And it was at a really important time, he took me right under his wing, you know what I mean? And he was a guy who cared about me, and I felt like I was going to be on the sidelines forever because of life circumstances. And he was able to speak some truth, right? That was true. And also did it in a way that wasn't mean.
He's really concerned about you.
Right. And I think there's,
I think that's part of what I think you just hit on the major part of it is understanding, when something is being spoken to you, what it is, and then, decipher in yourself what it is. Because some people are mean. Some people will say things that does get kind of offensive, and then you call it out and you deal with it right away. But there's some people that may not necessarily present something in the right package, but they're right on the money.
Yes.
And you should be, willing to accept it, especially if you validate and verify that with your own journey. What they're saying is true. And people know that.
Yep.
But I think with, especially in the church community, and especially with Christians, is that we kind of put ourselves in this bubble, protective bubble, thinking that nobody's ever going to say anything like that to us.
Right.
And when they do, it's kind of a surprising thing. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. But all along, have you not been reading the Bible? The Bible specifically talks about the church being a part of us maturing in the faith, which means people are going to help us try to mature in the faith, which means some things are going to be said that you may need to hear.
Absolutely.
That you may not want to hear, but you need to hear. And you try to deal with the whatever that is and process it and make it work for what you need to do in your life. And that's okay. I mean, not everything that's going to happen in your Christian journey is just going to be this wonderful, hey, you're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Absolutely.
And, there is going to be some offense because we live in the flesh still. And we don't like to change.
So
we don't want to be different.
That's good. So, what do we need to help me understand how I get to that place of hearing, hearing truth? Maybe it isn't said in the right way. Like, what are some things that I can do, Pastor Alex, to know this is truth for me?
Right.
Like, how do I? I'm sorry if I'm not being clear.
No, you're fine.
What are a practical thing that I need to do? How do I listen when someone's telling me something that's maybe hard for me to hear, but it may be true?
I would just speak for myself, understanding it the way I understand through Scripture. You do have to. I mean, like Christ instructed us. I mean, we have to live with an attitude all the time of forgiveness.
Yep.
Living in that mindset that I'm not going to react to everything that comes my way.
Sure.
And you start the filter process with that.
Okay.
So when somebody's saying something to us, we're not immediately looking for a retaliatory comment or something to say. When we live in an act of or a lifestyle of forgiveness and grace, we kind of put ourselves in a position where we can hear first before we react.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we do actually hear what's being said, we kind of hear what they really are trying to say. Like the guy that said, "Hey, you're overweight. That's the problem."
Yeah.
I mean, I could have reacted and said, seriously?
Yeah.
Dude, come on.
Right.
But I stepped back and I'm like, I understand that he's concerned for me.
Okay.
And that starts out with that filter of being forgiving first and having grace. I don't think you can really deal with too much of any of those comments any other way, because I think our natural response in the flesh is to retaliate.
Yeah.
Is to say, I'm going to react to this because I don't like something, because an offense usually is an opposing idea or comment or feeling that is not, in harmony with ours. And so we're going to say something.
Yeah.
So I think that does happen. But I think that for me personally, when I have started moving that realm, that thinking, it makes it a little bit easier, because I mean, people are going to have their opinions about everything, and they're going to have comments about everything. They're going to say things that are going to be like that.
Sure.
And at some point you got to say to yourself, it's okay for them to say things.
Sure.
That sometimes I won't always agree with, but how I respond to that, like you said earlier, and react to that is big. That is really important. That is a part of the Christian experience, and that's part of our maturity. Only children react immediately when something's done.
Right.
When my kids would have something come against them, they would react immediately, because that's just the natural response. As adult Christians, we should be thinking different. As Christians that are young in the faith, of course, are going to react that way.
Yeah.
But as we get older, we realize, okay, this is just water off my back. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem. One of the things I like reading about Moses in his leadership. And you notice when he first started, he was offended a lot.
Yeah.
Offended a lot about the people. And eventually towards the end, he realized, this is not that big of a, this is God's problem.
Sure.
And I can't be taking on all these offenses all the time. It's just too much.
Right.
And eventually he started changing the way he thought. Of course he struck the rock and caused himself his own problems, but that was early on. And later on he started to realize really what he needed to do. And it was the maturity that he was experiencing. He was beginning to come into this idea of, well, I don't have to think that way.
Yep.
It's not that big of a deal.
Sure.
And I think that comes too with our strong identity in Christ. It comes too with our understanding who we are. I think when we allow Holy Spirit to begin to work in us, Holy Spirit does enough of the conviction and helping us see where we need to be. So I think we start becoming aware of who we are and aware of what we need to work on and aware of what we need to do. Then it's not anything new when people bring it up. It's not something that shocks us. I think it's only when we have this identity and ideology that we are perfect and that we don't need to change anything.
Right.
And I can't see where you're getting that from. That we begin to start defending ourselves.
Yeah.
Irrationally.
Right.
To the point where we create something and that was meant to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, man. Yeah, I think there's as you were talking there, I was remembering there's a statistic of you only listen. The average person only listens long enough to formulate a response.
Yeah.
And so I think some of the work that I've done has been, I really need to not do that. I need to be actively listening.
Yeah.
Being, truly attentive to the person in front of me, of going, I'm going to try to hear what you're trying to say to me, even in those harder conversations.
Right.
So, yeah. And I think that's been helpful for me. And I think also the idea of giving people the benefit of the doubt who deserve it. Right. So
that's good. That's good.
Being able to, again, try to see the best in someone's intention, not drawing this hard line of if someone disagrees with you or has an opposing view or says something hard to you, that's now a personal thing. I just, I've tried to do a really good job of separating that.
Yeah, that's good.
Saying, this isn't a personal attack unless, it is, but there's that sense that because someone disagrees or says something hard doesn't mean they don't like you.
Right.
That's been work that I've had to do. But.
Well, and the thing is, I think you notice that personal attacks are always irrational.
Yeah.
Lines of thought or comments.
Yeah.
They don't make any sense.
Right.
And usually when you hear those, you know exactly what it is. It doesn't. What are you talking about?
Right.
So those are irrational, and I think you do bring up a defense against that. But, you know, one of the things that we do in our job, a lot of times we have to have those conversations with people.
Yeah.
And sometimes they are offensive. I mean, I probably offend people on a regular basis by things I have to tell them, or things that I see that they need to work on, or, in counseling a lot, that's not always fun.
Sure.
And I have to sit down and say, hey, listen, this is what's going on.
Yep.
And at first they're like, what? It's like, listen, you know it and I know it.
Right.
It's not like it's not an irrational accusation.
Yep.
And I think for the most part, that's what a lot of people in the church are trying to do. I mean, they're trying to help you become better. And that may be why a lot of people don't want to be in the church. They don't like the fact that they can't live in a vacuum to themselves and expect God to just, bless their lives and speak to them. Unfortunately, to them, not only has God given us the Holy Spirit in the Bible, but he's also given us the church to help us mature in our faith.
Absolutely.
And so you cannot back away from it just because you don't want to be in that environment.
Right.
You have to realize that it's all important to helping you be who you need to be.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Amen.
Well, that's it for the Bait of Satan, and Pastor Gary will be back here next week. He's a smart one in the group, so he'll be able to talk to us some more about the Bait of Satan. We'll be on week 2.
Week 2.
Not sure.
Celebrate baptisms next weekend.
Celebrate baptisms next week. Yeah, we got a lot of things going on, and I just got to say, I mean, Ted, you have to agree with me.
What's that?
That my outfit for Harvest Festival is going to blow people out of the water. Come on.
Are you going to tell people
I can't.
what it is now? Or
I can't tell them it. But I just want to bait the hook a little bit.
Absolutely.
And just kind of say that you have no idea how cool.
Yeah. So speaking of Harvest Fest, Friday, October 25th, it's from 6 to 8. We are going to have our Candyland themed Harvest Fest.
Yes.
It's going to be in the Solid Rock this year. We're super excited to use that space.
What's the date again for that?
It is Friday, October 25th.
Yes.
And it's from 6 to 8. And we do it up. We have carnival rides,
right?
All the candy in the world you can imagine.
Yes.
There's all kinds of games. It's super, super fun. People dress up. It is the largest outreach we do all year. Harbor
it's like 700-800 people show up.
Yeah. The largest outreach we do. And with that, church, we need candy. We need all the candy. So we just want to buy out Walmart, go early and often.
And do it fast now because then the ports are closed.
That's right. That's right. We got to get that. Got to get that Halloween candy.
Yeah, get the Halloween candy.
So go buy it and then bring it to Chelsea, and she will be happy to take it from you.
And there's a box out in the hallway too.
Oh, is it? Yeah,
there's a box in the lobby. You can throw it in
drop there and after church or before church.
It's not for us to pick through and take.
Not. You know what's the best? Do you do this? So Miss Jill's in charge of the candy distribution for. Do you ever look at the pile of candy she has in the nursery?
And sometimes
I'm a large man. I could be buried in it.
And you're like, this is where I want to die.
Can I do that?
Yeah. have an overload.
That's right.
Yeah, I just became diabetic. This year.
What is your favorite Halloween candy?
I don't know.
In the big bag of I like almond joy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and I like the little dots ones.
I usually go for the Reese's or the Butterfingers.
Yeah,
I like
those are good too. Oh
but
boy.
The thing is, I enjoy here that we have a pastor's tax for the kids.
Yep.
So I tried that. Every year I pull a pastor's tax, and kids usually are onto it really quick, and the parents are like, Pastor Alex wants some candy, give him some candy. Thank you, parents. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, again, that is just going to be an amazing time. So we're super excited getting ready for that. It's October 25th. It's on a Friday. If you have come, it's an amazing event. And also, we just want to make sure that you're doing your part. This is a great, great, great opportunity to invite people who aren't connected at Harbor Light. So
invite other people.
Invite your friends. Invite folks who aren't around. Invite, small groups is a great thing to do together, and invite some friends to come through that. So
a lot of games.
Absolutely. So much fun.
Yeah, and you need to see my awesome.
Yeah, it is impressive, folks.
My awesome outfit for this year. It
takes up the entirety of Pastor Alex's office.
It does. I have no room anymore in my office.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys next week. Again, thanks for listening, and How do you say thanks for listening in Chinese?
Peace. I don't know. I will not make something up.
That would
be
I know. It'd probably be a swear word in Chinese or something. We'll work on that next week.
Yes.
We should be able to say thank you in all the different languages that are represented on the podcast.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and
that'd be sweet.
Try to do it.
Yeah.
Live on air.
We appreciate you international listeners
so
much that we would learn to say hello or goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye and whatever your language is.
Awesome.
Ni hao? Is it ni hao?
I just don't think we should just attempt it.
Don't do it. I heard that in a Jackie Chan movie. I don't know if ni hao is a goodbye.
We might be setting people up for offense here.
Yeah, right. I just offended all our Chinese listeners. I apologize for that. But we'll see you next week.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission now.